Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to stand in front of you of this distinguished gathering of journalists working very hard to better our future of living with each other. Next Century Foundation believes in progress and accomplishments and the making of a better future for humanity. I am fully aware of our numerous mutual concerns relating to individual and public freedoms. Media and politics are required to deal with this issue with objectivity and commitment to the rights of individuals and groups. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to have to inform you that Arab News Network have been the subject of an act of piracy and jamming. This has led recently to the pulling out of ANN station from Arabsat and Nilesat. It's obviously being the victim of criminal piracy on the European Hotbird satellite. This station, ANN, which carries the message of freedom and democracy over the last 12 years, has now become a target of the forces of dictatorships and political tyranny. These forces have also interfered with websites and other media which uphold freedom of expression. Your colleagues at ANN, who stood firm defending freedoms, have now found themselves at risk of losing their jobs. We are here entitled to ask how such forces are allowed to work against the freedom of expression, using the tools of technological terrorism to sabotage a station which promotes freedom and democracy. If they succeed in silencing Arab News Network without any deterrence, this is not very different from the acts of piracy which are now taking place off the Somali coast. I would have far preferred to have spoken to you this evening about the accomplishments of New Century Foundation, which is doing a great job promoting understanding and reconciliation in the world, than to have reported to you these despicable acts and transgressions against free speech and communication. Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for my current preoccupations, but unless our voices speak together to reject such attacks on freedom of expression, what is happening to ANN today may be commonplace for other broadcasters tomorrow. Finally, I am pleased to introduce to you Mr. Mark Urban, the distinguished media personality whose writings and coverage of the war zones for the BBC and his writings in the independent newspaper, not forgetting his success as an author, have gained wide respect. Mr. Mark, thank you very much. Quick words. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that the Middle East is an extraordinarily volatile and resilient place. Just a couple of months ago, I had one of those sort of bad journalistic moments. After the Gaza war, before the Israeli elections, thinking, this is about as bad as anything I can think of in terms of the situation, the prognosis. Now we have a situation which very much reminds me of my first visit to Israel and the occupied territories for Newsnight in 1991, which was in the run-up to the Madrid conference. We now hear that a similar thing is in the pipeline, a comprehensive approach to the peace process. And I thought I would share with you a pearl of wisdom that I heard on that first trip back in 1991, which may prove operative in the coming months. I'd interviewed Hanan Ashrawi, who was preparing to go to Madrid, and she'd had a sort of preliminary meeting with Jim Baker, the US Secretary of State, in Jordan. And I used what has become, I'm afraid, one of my hallmark journalistic tricks, which is to ask the question I really want the answer to as we're standing up taking off the microphones at the end of the interview, at which moment that psychological release can often lead even the most hardened politician or media player to actually speak the truth or reveal something that you want to know, because the interview is over and you're out of there, you're history, baby. And I said to her, what did Jim Baker say to you, by the way, when you were in Jordan? And she said, we're going to the Madrid conference, and he has calculated that only a Likud government can take Israel into this process, but that it will create a climate of expectation in which only a Labour government can finish the process.
I thought, God, that's pretty good. As far as political strategy goes, now, we can argue about Oslo and what it did or didn't achieve, but it was an extraordinary piece of foresight, and I think people who rate Jim Baker as a Secretary of State are absolutely right. He was an extraordinary strategist to have seen things in such clear terms. So we can only hope, inshallah, that the course of peace will be similarly served in the coming months, and that at last there may be some real possibility of squaring the Middle East circle. I thank you all for your reward. It's a great honour, and I'm very touched. Thank you.